Hey, what's up, everybody? Listen, welcome back to 5 Minute Morning. I'm setting the timer right now. Listen, we are stopping right at 5 minutes today. Boom, right on the dot. I feel like I'm in a crazy mood today. Listen, I got my Blue mic right here. No, we're not sponsored by Blue mic. Blue mic, if you want to sponsor us, that'd be amazing. You know, send me a free mic. Everybody's always looking for free stuff, aren't they? Life is not free. Life is not free. Freedom isn't free. What am I talking about? Remember, I'm doing one take here. Listen, I'm not going to repeat this. I don't have time to repeat this. 5 minutes, here we go. Listen, today's 5 Minute Morning is called Life is Jazz. Life is Jazz. And we're going to talk about that. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. But I was like, you know what? That's how committed I am to 5 Minute Morning. Nothing is going to stop this. Although I haven't done one for like 2 weeks. Listen, but you know, sometimes you feel under the weather and you go, man, I cannot believe this, or I can't believe this happened or that happened, all these circumstances in life. You know, things come up, right? And my wife and I, we just always chalk them up. We're like, hey, we've come to the conclusion, it's just life. It's just life. Listen, man, we live in a fallen world. John 16:33 says that. It says, listen, this world is crap, okay? I hate to use that word, but it is. We live in a fallen world. But take heart, the word says, because I have overcome this world. Listen, if you are a believer, you and I, we know how the story ends. We know how this is going to wrap up. We don't have to fear anything. Listen, I'm leading a song this week called Fear Is Not My Future. You are. And man, isn't that the truth? That is some truth right there. Fear is not our future. We know how the story ends, and we can take heart. We can have peace in that. We don't have to be anxious about anything. The word says, if you got anxiety, place it before me, and I'll give you a peace that passes all understanding. That is for another time, another podcast. I did not mean to get into all that, but it is just life. You know, all the time we go, what are the chances? You know, you've heard that phrase. People say, man, what are the chances that would happen? And at this season of life, with all the life experience we've had, again, my wife and I, we just go, the chances are pretty high. And then we just laugh about it. We're like, what are the chances that would happen? The chances are very high. Listen, I've seen it all. I've heard it all. I've been through it all. I've had mountaintop successes. I have had huge valley failures. Listen, there is nothing that you could say to me that would shock me. There's nothing that I would say that would shock me. Listen, we are the weakest where we think we're the strongest, right? Because we think, oh man, why? Because we let our defenses down in that area. We think, shoot, we're really strong in this area, so we let our defenses down, and that's exactly where the enemy will hit us. Why am I talking about that? I have no idea. Just came to my mind. Remember, this is just off the top of my mind. But let's get back to life is jazz. Life is jazz. What do I mean by that? I said that to somebody the other day. Actually, I was getting my hair cut. That's probably why I wanted to do this 5 Minute Morning, because I was like, man, I got my hair cut. Looking good, you know? I need to get in front of the camera. I need people to see this while I still have some hair left. If the light hits just right, man, if the light hits just right, you can see, man, I barely got much hair. I don't have much hair left. Wow, I am really off track today. I'm just talking about all kinds of things. Life is jazz. So I was getting my hair cut, right? And I said, you know, we were discussing something, and I said, you know, I look at life as jazz. They were like, what? What did you say? I said, I look at life as jazz. And then I was at dinner last night, one of our favorite Italian places. We were having dinner. And I said, you know, life is jazz. And my wife was like, really? She goes, where did you hear that? I didn't hear it anywhere. I actually came up with that. It's this culmination of just life experiences. And I've been thinking about it. And I was like, you know, what is the narrative of my life? How do I live my life? How do I operate? How do I conduct things? And I'm like, you know, I think it's a little bit like jazz. My life is like jazz. And I love to look at it like that. So what do I mean by life is jazz? Well, if you think about jazz, right? Jazz has a blueprint. It has some parameters. It has an outline, right? You've got this chord chart where it's like, here's the F major 7 chord. Here's the C minor 7 chord. Then we're going to diminish. But in between those chord changes, you've got 4 beats. You've got 4 beats to explore, to improvise. I love that word. To improvise, to pivot, to create, to go on an adventure. Every instrumentalist takes it this place, takes it that. They take that core structure, but then they create. They have the freedom to create and go where they want to go. That is jazz, my friend. But guess what? Even though they create, even though they might go down this road or the trumpet player might take this route right here, they all land back on the downbeat of the next measure. They all land back down on that C minor 7 chord, and boom, they hit it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And then they take off. They take off again and they improvise and they have that freedom. And I just love looking at life like that. I love living life like that. Whether it's government, whether it's coaching basketball, whether it's leading worship, whether it's parenting, whether it's our family, no matter what it is, it's like life is jazz. Coaching basketball. You know, a lot of people don't get it. They don't understand how I coach. And they'll be like, man, you know what? He doesn't have enough structure, you know, or he doesn't do this in practice, do that in practice. I've heard that every once in a while, you know, after all these years. And it's just not a misunderstanding of how I go about it. I like to coach in a jazz kind of sense where you put the players in the right positions, right? That they can be the most effective. You have a loose blueprint for your defense and your offense, right? But then you allow the players on the court to make choices, to react, to take the ball and go where they want to go, to make the pass that they see at that moment. You don't micromanage, right? Then there's not a weight on their shoulder. Their mind isn't taxed. They're not hearing from the coach, me on the sideline yelling at them, go here, go there. They're able to have that freedom and just move and improvise and create and go where they want to go. I love that. I love that. Think about government. We have a constitution that is incredible. That's kind of the framework. That's the foundation. But then we have all these freedoms. You know, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. Thank goodness. And so we have this foundation, because if you don't have the foundation, right, you have chaos, you have anarchy. But then within that foundation, you and I are allowed the freedom to create, to build, to start things, to succeed, to fail, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Doesn't mean we're going to have happiness, but we can pursue it, right? We have the freedom to pursue it. I look at it in leading in worship. When I'm leading worship, you know, it's like, I hate being locked into a click track in my ears. Why? I mean, I understand why that could be a benefit, but I do not want somebody in my ears going, hey, here comes the chorus. Here comes the verse. Okay, here's the tempo, 120. You got to stay locked into the tempo. I hate that. What if I want to speed up? What if I want to slow down? What if I want to repeat the chorus? What if I want to go back to the first verse a second time? What if I want to stop for a moment and there's a verse on my mind and I want to communicate that verse? That's an encouraging word for the congregation, right? When I've got a click track, I can't do any of that. I am locked in and I hate being locked into those things, right? That's like classical music. Classical music's fine. A lot of people like classical music, but it's like so stiff. It's so locked in. There's so many parameters. There's so many boxes you have to stay in. You got to stay right locked in. Man, I like to live life like jazz. I like to improvise. I tell my kids all that all the time. Listen, have a mind of your own. Be able to think for yourself. Don't take things at face value. Listen to that. Don't take things at face value. You got to look behind the eyes. You got to look at what the motivation, the agenda maybe is behind what is being said. You can't just take it at face value. Now, you might say, Nate, man, that is very cynical. You are jaded. Yeah, no, I am, right? I've lived enough life that it's like I'm a cautious risk taker. I don't just take things at face value. I process them. I unfold them. I weigh them. A lot of times I weigh them with the word. What does the word of God say? I weigh it with the word of God and then I go from there, right? Listen, you can tell, whew, man, I got a cold. And I've been all over the map. I'm not going to delete this and do it over, even though I've been all over the map, right? You just get what just came on. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope there was something that was helpful. What time? That was 8 minutes? My timer didn't go off. 8 minutes. I'm so sorry. I told you I was going to stop at 5 minutes. Well, I hope it was worth it. 5-minute morning. Listen, life is jazz. Put people in the right place. Give them the freedom, right? But have a framework. Have a foundation. Have a blueprint. But then improvise within that blueprint. And man, that is a beautiful way to live life. I love it. Life is jazz. Until next time, God bless you. Bye.